Worry is natural. Worry is something that we will encounter in our lives, and it's not a sign that things are going wrong. It's not a sign of things, like it's not a bad thing. Worry doesn't have to be a bad thing. A lot of times we associate worry with being something negative, but worry can really be something useful if we look at it as being useful. Because research indicates that what we can do when it comes to worry is we can use our personal strengths to help us serve as like a psychological buffer. It can help enhance our resilience and our emotional regulation. So if we use worry as maybe more of a signal, we can then pull from our own strengths to be able to help us understand what can we do now with this worry. So worry doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing as we come to know. So with today, what we are really going to focus on is how can we create what we call a strength shield. And if you downloaded that document that I put up in the chat, you'll see that it is a step-by-step guide of how to create and activate this shield. Now, there was a step that can be done before, which could be more useful. I'll show you what it is. Hold on. So there is, if you look in the document, I added something called the VIA or Values and Action Classifications. But where is it? Okay. But what you can do as a way to get more tools and information about your own strengths, you can visit something called VIA.org. And what it does is it gives you a questionnaire. And so I'm going to share my questionnaire, my what I have right here. This is the results of the test. It gives you different questions and you just rate them, and it'll give you your top five strengths. These are character strengths, and they base them in different categories, which I'll show you in a second. But if you look here, you can see what mine are. And these strengths are what we are going to use to build our strength shield to help us when we are dealing with worry. So as you can see here, my top five strengths are spirituality, hope, honesty, kindness, and creativity. So these are my personal top five strengths that when I'm talking about building my strength shield, I'm going to pull from these. And you can also visit VIA.org to take the quiz to get your own strengths if you want to. This is kind of the categories. These are all of the strengths that will come up in that test. So if you want, you can look through right now, and I'll give you a couple minutes to kind of just pick maybe your top three, because when it comes to building your strength shield, we are going to focus on the top three maybe strengths that you have right now. And as you can see, the values and action character strengths list is broken down into four different categories. We have wisdom, which are strengths of thinking. We have courage, which is strengths of taking action. We have humanity, which is strengths of caring. We have justice, which is strengths of community. We have temperance, which is strengths of self-control. We have transcendence, which is strengths of meaning. So these are the different categories of types of strengths that you can have. Now, if you remember, mine were spirituality, hope, and what was my third one again? Honesty. So spirituality goes into the strengths of meaning. Um, those strengths help connect to something bigger that bring joy and hope. Spirituality and in hope actually are both in transcendence in that category, in strengths of meaning. And then what was my last one? Honesty. Honesty falls into, where is it? Where is it? Oh, strengths of taking action, which is to act bravely and persist in the face of challenges. Honesty is speaking the truth and living with integrity. So those are my top three strengths. I think creativity is one of them, and creativity is in strengths of thinking. So you can see that some my strengths kind of vary in different categories, and yours will probably as well. So again, we'll revisit this. You'll have time to revisit this. And again, we're looking for these strengths to inform how we create our strength shield. So even if you don't have like three, if you want to take the test later, you can. But I'm going to move on to go through the steps of what my strength shield is and what that does. So, when step one of my strength shield, again, is addressing and identifying your top three strengths. So, when people use their strengths intentionally, they experience more vitality, less anxiety, and greater resilience. And so the example I put here is my top three strengths are humor, curiosity, and bravery. Before my doctor's appointment, which a doctor's appointment could be a very like anxiety or worry inducing event. Before that, we can think of what are the strengths I'm going to bring into this to help me. And we can say that humor or curiosity or bravery could pull into it. So, like before my doctor's appointment, I want to use bravery to stay grounded, curiosity to ask questions, and humor to keep things light. These are three personal values and skills that I could bring into this to help me stay grounded and help me overcome some of that worry that might come up. But after we've identified those skills or those strengths, we're going to define how each of these strengths are going to help us. So, reflecting on how those strengths show up in your life, how it feels in your body, how you want it to support you in the challenge ahead. So, the example I put here is my strength of perseverance feels like a steady green heartbeat. It shows up when I stay calm through frustration. I want it to help me keep going during my job interview, even if I get stuck. So again, a job interview is something that can be very anxiety inducing or make you worry about, can I get through this? But if you do have the strength of perseverance, you can think about it. I have persevered. I can get through this. This is a strength that will help me in this situation. We talk about if I bring it personally about how my strengths have helped me, like my spirituality. Um, Staying grounded at my church and my spirituality overall has been something that I always turn to when I'm through different things. I mean, I literally have a Bible verse tattooed on my wrist. Spirituality is something that helps me through a lot of things, and it's something very important. And hope is another thing. I mean, I have a shirt that says hope dealer because not only do I do that as my job, I do bring that into my life and hoping and realizing that there are good things that can come in the future, as well as, why do I always forget the third one? What was the third one? Honesty. Being very honest and realistic, I think, is something that I do a lot is how can I live my life with integrity and being honest and just show up authentically. So these are how these strengths work with me. And when you are figuring out what to build your strength shield with, you have to kind of personalize it to what you're doing. And then the next thing is to visualize your strength shield. So my strength shield is a very kind of like visualizing thing. Now that we have these three strengths that we're going to have, we're going to visualize it and how it's going to work for us. So we're going to imagine a soft glowing shield forming around you, like a bubble or an aura, and it's made of the energy of your three strengths. And each strength radiates from different parts of the shield. You can see their colors swirl together. Your shield is translucent, so nobody else can see it, but you can see it and connect it with you. And it's going to be something that filters what comes in and out. And this is a personalized thing. So, however you want to visualize your shield, I was thinking about how do I see this shield, and I've seen it in a couple different ways. One of the ways is I almost see it as like a almost like a mesh around me of my different strengths. Or I think even at times I've seen even like an old medieval shield that I'm holding in front of me to protect me. It's how you want to visualize and how this kind of works for you personally. Then you're going to set the filter, which means you are going to, now that you visualize this shield in front of you, you're going to help that control what's going on around you. So, mentally setting this function. What is your shield going to filter out, meaning protect you from? And what is it going to let in? So, if we are dealing, like, let's say we're dealing with this job interview thing, it's going to filter out maybe some negative thoughts, maybe some negative thinking, maybe a critic or a judgment type thought that might come through. Your shield is not going to allow that through. But what is it going to let through? It's going to let through positivity. So instead of thinking, oh, I'm awkward, We're going to filter that out if we're in that job interview situation. And we're going to let in that I have a wide vocabulary. I am able to articulate what I need to say. And that's going to come because I have hope. I know that I am honest and I live my life with integrity. So these things are going to protect me from that idea of awkwardness and protect me from that idea that I'm going to fail. So that's what we're doing when we're setting the filter. What is it going to be allowed in? And what's going to be protected and kept out. Now, you activate the shield when you think of that upcoming event where you'll feel that stress. And you want to practice activating your shield beforehand when the worry really kind of hits more. Whether it's before the job interview, before a doctor's appointment, you want to work on that shield then. And you can say out loud, I am entering this moment with my strengths beside me. I'm protected by kindness, curiosity, perseverance, or in my case, my spirituality, my hope, my honesty, and I will allow that to serve me, allow that to protect me and keep all of the not so great things out. So we'll practice using the shield. We'll say these things out loud, we'll visualize it in front of us, and we'll use that skill beforehand. And then, of course, we always have reflection. And reflection is always critical because we want to really evaluate how this is working for us and making sure that this process is something that is going to work for us and be, efficient. So, what strengths did I use? And did the shield help me feel grounded or steady? And what worked better than expected? Because sometimes we kind of just do the process and then don't evaluate, and we don't really take into effect that, wait, that did work. Or wait, maybe I needed to try something different. Maybe I need to take some moments to deep breathe before I activate my shield. Or what do I need to help make this better? So, those are the simple steps. I'll go through them really quickly one more time. We identify our top three strengths, and knowing all your strengths could be helpful because some strengths work better in certain situations than others. We can define how these strengths actually help us and work for us, our own personal meaning to these strengths. We begin to visualize our shield itself. We set the filter of what the shield is going to keep out, as well as what it's going to allow in. And then we're going to activate our shield as needed. And then lastly, reflect. Did this work for us? Now that's just the PowerPoint, but if you go back to the worksheet, which I'll go through really quickly, in your own workshop handbook, it will say the process here. When can you use this exercise? Again, before stressful events, when anticipating anxiety or self-doubt. It can be a daily or weekly resilience practice, something that you're doing to remind yourself of that bounce back. And it can be mental preparation rather than calming yourself down. And again, it's the same steps. What are your three strengths? Defining how these strengths help you. How do they show up in your life? Does it help you when you're doing hard things? You're visualizing your shield. What does it look like? How does it feel in your body? What does it represent? And then setting the filter. Then activating and of course reflecting. So each of these steps are super important when it comes to your strength shield. But again, step-by-step process. Do you have any questions? What are we thinking?